Wright Perspective. Today, we're going to recap and discuss two science fiction films, Terminator from 1984 and Terminator 2 Judgment Day from 1991. Both were directed by James Cameron and both were box office hits. Terminator had a budget of $6.4 million and grossed $78.3 million. Terminator 2 had a budget of about $100 million and grossed $521 million. These numbers might make these movies a classic in some circles, but today we will determine if they are classics from the Wright perspective. So we'll do a recap and then we'll discuss plot and direction and characters and acting and cinematography, sound and music, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol picked especially for this discussion, inspired by the movies. But let's start off with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright and I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
And I'm Brittany Wright, and I am the youngest.
And you know, those who listen to our podcast,
I already see how it's going to be.
Those who listen to our podcast, you need to just go to YouTube and check out a few of these videos to see how pleased Brittany is with herself. She introduces herself. That's what y'all need to see it. You have to see it to understand it.
Since 1985.
Yeah, very pleased with herself.
The day the world stood still.
Oh,
August 28th, 1985.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so good. Okay, I have a question. Is James Cameron the actor? Is that who no? That's not him.
I don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking about that guy with brown hair that was in
that's the curly hair? Is it Family Ties? Isn't that James Cameron?
You all are destroying any credibility.
I know that name.
What is his name? I know who you're talking about, sis, but that's not him.
He was in the Omega Code movies.
Can we please, we have to move on. Like there is a good chunk of people who X'd out right there.
I know who you're talking about, sis, but no, the answer is absolutely not. You're incorrect. Okay. But let me tell you, this James Cameron, y'all, these movies, oh my gosh, you know, and we always talk about what makes a classic.
Kirk Cameron.
Oh.
Can we please? I listen.
I got that last name right.
I need us to move on, please.
It must be his cousin.
Pretty please with a cherry on top.
Oh gosh, you know what, bro? I tend not to cut things out before posting our podcast, but this whole little section, it might need to go.
No,
it might need to go.
It might need to go. I mean, I leave it ultimately up to you, but but please.
No,
wait.
Brittany, James Cameron is not Kirk Cameron.
Okay, wait. First of all, are we getting derailed here? Because you're about to get into it, Genia.
We are, because we have.
And if you remember, Genia had a homework assignment from last episode.
I did my homework.
Snaps.
Don't give me homework, because I did my homework.
And before we go, I know it's going to be very brief. I know you've done it, so it's very brief.
It's very brief.
But I need to have your completed homework assignment from last episode.
In the last episode,
we need to hear it now, even before we move on. Yes, we need to hear it now. So let's go.
In the last episode, I was pretending that I understood a joke that I didn't understand. And Aubrey couldn't just let it go. He couldn't just let me smile and laugh and play along and Google it later. He called me out on the podcast when Brittany made a reference to Renum spoons and I didn't know what it was. And he called me out in a way that I couldn't continue to fake it. I couldn't do what I normally do, which is like, oh yeah, I love that hip hop song. I couldn't do it. And so I did look it up. I accepted my homework assignment and I did look it up, and I see that Renum Spoons is from the show Martin. And it was a business idea that that Cole was pitching, and he just kept saying riddle spoons, and the way that he was doing it, it was like, you're like, was it written like that, or was he just spontaneously saying it over and over again, and we just watching the actors reacting character being annoyed with him? It's very funny. Clearly it is an iconic moment, because as soon as I Googled it, it was everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes.
It was like all these YouTube clips, everybody making fun of it.
Right.
I had no idea. And I know I must have seen that episode in some way, because I feel like I've seen every episode.
At least once a year.
But did you remember why it applied in the situation in which Brittany used it?
Wait, what? No, I didn't go back.
Okay, well, the reason why it was funny was because what Cole would frustrate everybody with this idea. And it was funny because when you were coming up with your ideas for the symbol for last podcast,
head in a jar.
I kept trying to come back to it, and it still wasn't working.
And Brittany was like, and it was just flawlessly timed. It was flawlessly timed, because the feeling that everybody was getting when Cole was doing rhythm spoons, that was the exact feeling. And it was just perfect. It was a perfect moment in time. And I was just like, no, Janai needs to know what this was a perfect comedic moment. She needs to understand, like, we can't just let this go. So anyway, we're very happy that you did your homework.
Oh.
I'll give you a B because you didn't do the second part.
But you still get a B.
You still get a B.
But can I just say, I love when I finally can get an inside joke that everybody else has been getting for decades. So I'm so happy that I now get that.
I can say, tune in for the next one.
How many times has that happened? And I just missed it.
Well, guess what? Guess what, folks? Tune in for the next one. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it's coming. All right. So keep it moving, G. I just wanted to cover the homework quick. Let's get into it.
I did my homework. Okay, the next one is voting symbols. And this is how it came up in the last. This was the Rhythm Spoons framing from the last thing.
Hit me with them, sis.
Okay, so did y'all come up with any voting symbols?
You know I don't come up with any until this very moment.
I have some ideas, yes.
Do you want to go with yours, bro? Because I have 3.
No.
You have to go first.
I'll wait for this.
Why would you break tradition?
Every 2 weeks. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part, and I can't wait.
And I want to tell you all, much like Head in the Jar, I have a favorite. I have a favorite. Okay, so the first one is obvious. This is the most obvious one, which is the red eyeball. Okay, so the red eyeball, the Terminator, that is how we knew in the first movie that the Terminator was dead. But it's also how we knew in the second movie that the Terminator was alive. Do you see that red eye?
Brittany,
it served 2 purposes.
Brittany, here's the problem. Sometimes I'll like her idea until she explains it.
But
I'm like, I didn't even know that.
She made it too deep.
Purposes.
She made it too deep. All right.
And the second one is a switch box, because that is how the Terminator ultimately dies. The Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, the T-100. That's how he dies, because in the first one, she hits the switch box and it smushes him. And in the second one, he hands her the switch box and says it has to be done. Okay. And then she presses it, and then he is
That's
melted.
deep.
That's good.
That's deep.
I don't care what y'all say. That's good. Now the third
they're never not well thought out. That's not the question.
Deep, yo.
Yeah. And I had to look up what that box was called. It's called a switch box.
Yeah, the fact that you had to look it up might let you know it's not the best.
I would have called it the big yellow button box.
I was like machine button pad.
Yellow button box.
I did. I was like red, yellow, green buttons in machinery.
That's good to know.
Industrial, on, off. It's called a switch box. Now,
Your Google was like, what?
It was like, you're not giving me helpful information to solve this problem. The third one is my favorite, and it is the photograph of Sarah Connor. Now, these movies are essentially about time travel. But here's the thing about a photo. It is a point in time. It is static. And the photo itself didn't time travel. But that photo impacted multiple timelines of today and the future. So that photo, that point in time, it was a truth that really impacted the circular nature of these time traveling storylines. That's my favorite one.
That's good.
All right.
Those are my three proposals.
See, you never disappoint me. I just love because they're all. The thing is, they're all very well thought out concepts. That's never the issue. It's just if it's going to be a quick symbol, the fact that you had to look it up on Google is a sign that that's not a simple. But yes, they are all fantastic concepts. Britt.
Okay. In my deep thought just a few seconds ago, my first one is the mechanical arm and sunglasses. Done.
See, Janaya? See? That's both of those are phenomenal. Oh, I love it. I know I shouldn't say this. I just loved it. I love this podcast. I just do.
I actually gotta say, the mechanical arm, sis, it's really good.
That's good.
That's really
that
good
is good.
Because
that is good.
You think about it, that arm.
You know what? I had two, which was the Terminator head. You know what I'm saying? Because that was when you see that, you know what it is. You know, the Terminator head. Mm-hmm. And I was also thinking of a shotgun because that was the the central weapon in both. But to me, that sunglasses idea is it, because that was key in both movies. And it's also a trope in all the subsequent movies. I don't even know why I didn't think of that, but like the Terminator doing the sunglasses is a thing in all of the movies. And so I think my vote is that's it. Like my vote is for the sunglasses.
I can roll with the sunglasses. I can roll with the sunglasses. I can also roll with the arm because
I can roll with the arm
at
too.
the end.
I like the arm too. So if like y'all both like the arm, I can roll with the arm too. But just like,
because also remember at the end, the good Terminator in the second movie, he only had one arm. He had lost an arm by the end. And so it was that, there was an arm that was in the technology factory.
Can we do it?
It should be a mechanical arm holding a switch box.
Can we do the Zoom on my bridge next time so I can use it necessary? But no, the arm is good, but I'm just saying, like, I know y'all are just introduced to the Terminator universe, but what I'm saying is that sunglasses thing is a thing. Yeah. And I don't even know why I didn't think about it. But like, if you notice in the second movie, you see how much they punctuated that.
Yeah, they did. It was in a really funny way.
It was because it was like, this is, you know what I'm saying? This is the thing. And like, it even affected a whole generation of the type of sunglasses we wore as young guys who saw Terminator 2 in the theater. So, like, you saw those sunglasses everywhere. Like in the you know how they have the sunglasses huts and stuff? Like everybody was trying to find the glasses that looked like the Terminator sunglasses. So when you just said that, it just snapped me back. Like, I don't even know how I didn't.
I mean,
feel
I will say, as a person that had not seen these movies until the last 2 weeks, I had an awareness of the sunglasses as being an iconic part of that
yeah,
that imagery of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it is something that's so clearly a part of the like iconography of all of this.
yeah, yeah.
I can go with the sunglasses.
Yeah, Britt.
I can roll with it.
That was a good one, Britt.
And
it's funny because when you start superimposing the the symbols, whenever we start doing that, like that's one that's easy to put up,
yeah,
like
you're
sunglasses right. Or sunglasses with a line through them. Like that's,
oh gosh, now, bro, you're shocking my mind to Channel 9 to know that it informed fashion, because it was just
man, I can't wait to talk about this.
All right, well, let's get through the recaps then. Because we got to get in here. We got to get into this discussion. The recaps are fast, bro. Your favorite kind. So, let's recap Terminators 1 and 2. And this is spoilers, y'all. We do recap, okay? And we do spoilers because a lot of the content that we cover, people haven't seen in a really long time. And so we do a refresher for those folks that want to tune into the podcast, but haven't taken in the content in a while. So in Terminator, which stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, I want to pronounce it Biehn, Linda Hamilton, and Paul Winfield, we're in 1984, which is actually the year the movie came out. And you have to think about that as a viewer. And we meet a young woman named Sarah O'Connor. And she has a simple life. She's a waitress, she lives with her best friend.
You didn't say O'Connor, right?
I said O'Connor.
It's Connor.
Oh Connor. My God. Oh my God.
I couldn't let that go.
That is one of the most fundamental and most important. No, bro. Thank
the
you.
Phone book. Yeah, I couldn't let that go.
Bro, good call. Good call.
All right.
She made her average.
Right.
She ain't safe. She ain't that St. Patty's Day.
And the name is so important. You cannot mess up the name.
It's everything.
We meet this young woman named Sarah Connor, and she has a simple life. She's a waitress. She lives with her best friend, and she has a stylish 80s mullet. She's just having a good time. Little does she know, a human-looking cyborg assassin known as the Terminator has traveled back in time from 2029 to 1984 to kill her.
That's Why? A bad day.
Why? It is because she is destined to birth a son that would eventually lead an important resistance in the future. And the Terminator wants to stop that from happening. In the future, in 1997, a technology called Skynet has advanced to the point where machines have become self-aware. And for the sake of self-preservation, they use nuclear bombs and every, possible weapon and tactic to kill most people, except for the ones that they keep as slaves and the ones that hide in the shadows of this sad, like post-apocalyptic looking reality that fight the resistance, that fight the machines, that resist the machines. And those people that are resisting the machines, they are being led by Sarah Connor's future son, John Connor. Now, as you can imagine, it takes Sarah a little while to believe this. Okay, but she comes around when she sees in the news that everyone named Sarah Connor is being systematically killed. And then a random guy named Kyle Reese risks his life to protect her. Kyle is also from the future, but he has been sent back in time by her adult future son, John Connor, to protect her, to ensure he can be born. Kyle Reese does ultimately die while trying to protect her. But before that, he gives Sarah all the information she needs about her unborn son's destiny, and they even made love. And it turns out that her son had told Kyle so many stories about his mom, Sarah, that Kyle had actually fallen in love with her before he met her, just based on stories and one picture. Sarah Connor does manage to kill the Terminator by mushing him in a gigantic compressor in a factory. The last time we see her, she is heading to Mexico, pregnant by Kyle Reese, okay, with Kyle Reese's baby, and recording messages to her unborn son about his destiny to lead this resistance to save humanity when the machines rise up. Then in Terminator 2,
Wait. And at the end, talk about the picture. You've been talking about the picture. You got to talk about how the picture was taken.
At the end, and she's on the run. She's on the run and pregnant, y'all. She's on the run for so many reasons. She's on the run because she was involved in what was essentially a massacre in the city of LA as the Terminator was trying to kill her, and was taking out police, taking out random bystanders, okay, trying to kill her. She's now implicated in so many murders. All right, so she's on the run, pregnant, heading south to Mexico, and she stops at a gas station, and she ends up chatting with a little boy there who's a little hustler little boy, and he comes up to her and he's like, my father, well, what did he say? He was like,
he said, I'm sorry, but my father will beat. He took a Polaroid picture of her, and said, my father will beat me if I don't charge you $5 American for this picture. And she gave him 4. And he agreed.
She said, "Good hustle, kid.
Was the
good
same.
Hustle, kid.
Good hustle, kid." And it was the same picture.
That turns out to be the picture that her son would ultimately give to Kyle Reese, that he would look at for years and years as he's falling in love with her in the future, to the point where he agrees to go back to the past to save her life, which is ultimately a commitment to die. He knows that he's giving his life for her, but he has fallen in love with her because of this picture. Then in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Robert Patrick. It's 11 years later, okay, 1994. And let me just say, that's interesting because the movie came out in 1991, but the story is in 1994. So you have to think about that as the viewers at the time.
Right.
And Sarah has spent that entire time preparing herself and her son for what she knows is to come, okay? That son has been trained in combat tactics, weaponry, technology, okay? And she has told him his destiny, all right? And along the way, she has become a warrior herself. When we met her in the first movie, she could only be described as a chickie, okay? That's the best word to describe her. She was just a little chickie, running around. And we see her this time, okay? She is, listen, you look in her eyes and you see, number one, she done been through something, okay? And number two, she about to get into something. And then she's built, okay? The muscles popping to and fro. She has turned herself into a gangster.
Not to and fro.
Yeah, and hither and thither, okay? And eventually, she tries to blow up the technology company that invents Skynet. And that's the technology that is destined to turn on humanity. She gets arrested and institutionalized when she tells them why she tried to blow up the technology company to thwart a machine-led takeover of the world. And while she's institutionalized, her son, John Connor, is in foster care. And he has started to believe that his mother is indeed crazy and that everything she has ever told him is ridiculous, and that his childhood growing up, learning war tactics was absurd. And he gets over that, though, when a Terminator tries to kill him. And amazingly, another Terminator saves his life. Both obviously have been sent from the future. Now, the bad Terminator was sent by Skynet to terminate John Connor, okay? And the good Terminator was sent by future John Connor to save young John Connor. And the bad news is that the bad Terminator is a much more advanced model than the good Terminator. The bad Terminator is made of liquid metal and can shapeshift to look like almost anything it has touched. And as a viewer, you're genuinely unable to figure out how it can be stopped because it is so adaptable. It is so adaptable. It just keeps coming back to life and morphing and reinventing itself and turning itself into weapon daggers. And it's just like, how can this thing be defeated? But guess what? Eventually, they do kill the bad Terminator by melting him in a vat of hot steel. And they blow up the company that was destined to invent Skynet by finding the person who was ultimately the inventor of the technology and letting him know about what is destined to happen if he continues his work. And of course, he believes them after he meets the good Terminator. And I have to say that actor was Joe Morton, y'all. And I just want to shout out to these movies because they had Black people in important roles. I want to shout out to the casting. So Joe Morton's character, he eventually does give his life to make sure that the factory gets blown up. Okay. And now here's the tricky part though. The only reason that he and his company were making the advances they were making was because they had discovered the smushed Terminator that Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese had defeated in 1984. And so it was in the killing of the first Terminator that was actually enabling and had become a catalyst, most likely for the creation of the Skynet technology. And so you start to just realize how much the future is impacting the present, which is impacting the future, which is impacting the present. And your mind is just blown. Now, at the end of the second movie, they have bonded with the good Terminator because this the first movie. We didn't have a Terminator on our side. We only had a human that had come back in the future. This time we had a Terminator, and he had the kind of programming that allowed him to become more and more human the more time he spent with humans. And so because he was spending so much time with them, he really had picked up a lot more ability to bond with the humans. And so he had formed a relationship with Sarah Connor, but mostly with John Connor, with young John Connor. But at the end, he had accomplished his mission, which was to protect them. And so once the bad Terminator was done and they had burnt the factory down, the last piece, the last device on Earth at that point that could have been a catalyst for or enabled what was to come was him. And so he said, you gotta melt me down too. And then they ultimately melt him in the same hot metal that they used to kill the bad Terminator. The end. Or is it? Okay.
Well, for real Terminator fans, it's the end. But there are many stories.
But bro, there's so many more movies. When I was looking around, there's like a whole franchise.
Yeah, I would suggest you to watch all of it just for fun's sake, but please don't have any expectations.
Were the other ones by James Cameron?
I don't know.
Or Kirk Cameron?
Sis, I was really going to edit that out, but now it has to stay. Look what you've done. Look what you've done. Now we're ruined.
I mean,
bro, but so
is
it because they're bad? Is it because they're bad, bro? Or is it because they don't keep the storyline right?
What I'm saying is these two movies were perfect. And unfortunately, when you have juggernaut movies, the only sequel that doesn't make money is the last one. So
it's a fact.
It was just going to keep going. And really, how many times can you rehash this particular concept? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that I enjoyed them on the level like I enjoyed Fast and Furious movies or something. But like, I'm just saying, and they're good action, there's good visual effects always. But these were not good action movies. These were phenomenal movies that happened to be action within the action genre. So, and the sci-fi genre. And I'm just saying that I don't even want to. I'm saying I think they're worth watching.
They're out there, but
we're
not going to consider them.
Yeah, but just oh no, we would. Nobody considers them classics, so like it wouldn't even be something that we would talk about on this podcast. But I'm just saying, just temper your expectations. That's all I'm saying. Just go and just watch them.
I had no plan to watch any of them. Not that I don't want to, but it was kind of just like after watching the second one, I said, "Where else are we going when everything is dead?" Like that was my thing, and I'm like, I don't want anything to come in and be like, "Really, y'all did that? Okay, I can't watch this."
I hear that. I hear that. What makes me think about what makes me feel interested in seeing what else they came up with is because what we keep understanding through the movies over and over and over again is that it's the time travel aspect that's creating the loops. And so yes, I could see prequels, because at this point we saw that the birth of John Connor was as a result of Kyle Reese coming back. And so I could see a prequel where there was a different conception for John Connor. Maybe there's a different John Connor. Like that's where my mind goes. Like, how did the loops get started?
Well, what I'm saying is that when Terminator came out, it was, I gotta imagine that James Cameron had to know this was going to be amazing. But just like you said, the budget was only $6 million. And I think it was just wildly more successful than they anticipated. And the movie was so good. These weren't known actors that we were dealing with. It was just an amazing movie, right? Mm-hmm. So when Terminator 2 came out, everybody was really hype. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was really hype about it. But when it came out, it was like, yo, this is amazing. It was like one of those movies where I can remember being in the theater and the reactions of the crowd to all the big moments. I can remember it. And what I'm saying is then Terminator 3 came out. And so expectations were really, really high because nobody knew where you could go after Terminator 1, but they knocked it out of the park. So the thing is, like, we don't know where you could go with this, but
we killed it.
Yeah. So it was like when you saw it and you walked out, it was like, all right.
That's too bad.
That's what I'm saying. And it was just one of those things that obviously is unrealistic, but it should have just been stopped at 2. But that being said, let's get into it. One thing I wanted to point out was one of my favorite parts of the movie. You said this in the recap, actually, and I just wanted to go back to this. I don't think that Kyle Reese knew he was going to his death. And I don't think Kyle Reese knew he was John's father. And I think that put so much weight on the decision John had to make to send him back. Because not only did he not know he was his father, but Kyle didn't know he was going to be John's father. Because remember when he mentioned it, he was like, I heard he died before the war. And the other thing is he knew he was sending his own father to his death so he could be born. So I just want to say that.
Bro, but that's my point. It's like what made John Connor be John Connor was Sarah's knowledge that her son had that destiny. So there could have been something that happened before Kyle Reese came back. John Connor's first father might not have been Kyle Reese, is the point I'm making. Because
you're going conceptually outside the movie then. Because
because John Connor knew that his mother needed to be saved. But remember, the point is, it's like there had to be a point at which somebody came back from the future the first time. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, well, that
And that
Well,
person,
let me say this. As far as the understanding of the concept of the movie,
yeah,
that loop is the concept. So what I'm saying is as far as the fandom of the movie, it's
Sure.
understood that John
knew that Kyle Reese was his father.
Kyle was his father, because even later on that, so I mean, there's TV shows, there's movies and all this kind of stuff.
Okay, that's an accepted premise.
The point is that Kyle didn't know, but John knew because even if John, that's why John had to give Kyle all the stories and stuff. And that's why John had to give her the picture, because he had to build this affinity for them to have that one night experience. Because this guy, if he had told him, he would think about how innocent John really was. Kyle really was. Even though he was a battle-tested veteran, he had never even been with a woman. He was so green when it came to that. And his brain couldn't have even handled the fact that not only was he supposed to fall in love with Sarah Connor, but he is John Connor's father. Like, that would have blew his whole brain off. So like, John had to send him back without even having that information, knowing that was what was going to create this whole situation. And I'm just saying that I don't want to take away from that decision, because it was such an amazing part of that's one of the things that just made the writing so like, and I want to also say one more thing based on what you were talking about, because when John did the I lost my train of thought. Let's keep going. I got too many.
Well, sis, what is?
Let me. It came back to me. You were talking about the time travel concept, right? How it I'm sorry, I'm just my brain is going too many places. But you were talking about the time travel loop, right? And I love how they even address that, because nowadays time movie loops get so intricate. And like when they were questioning Kyle, it's the same questions that the movie goer might be thinking. Good. And the Kyle was like, look, I'm not a tech guy. I don't know how it all works. All I know is I'm here and I have to stop.
That was so brilliant. Please ask the questions we were all wondering while watching it.
As a movie goer, you're like, yeah, you're right. Let's just like, what are we talking about? Like, we're getting too conceptual here. What we know is that there is a Terminator here, and this guy has to stop it. And he doesn't know nothing about all of that. And you don't know either. Somebody figured that out later. But what we do know is this is what's going on. And that is what also makes the movie good. The reason why you were able to give the recap simply is because it's a simple concept. Even though it's complex, the delivery is simple. There is a killer robot, there is a protector, and that's it. And we're
trying to save the future. That's all. That's all. Sis, what did you think? What did you think, especially about just this premise, like the time travel premise?
It was making my brain just do the circle. I was kind of cracking up. It was like the chicken or the egg, like, like that's what kind of started making my brain kind of do that little round and round type of thing. But when the movie first started, when the first one started, and it was like 2029, and it made me kind of chuckle when I was like, wow, like this movie came out in 84. 2029 seems so far away.
Right.
In 1984, like, oh my God, where every movie you see is like flying cars and, like 2020, anything was just so far away. And to think that we were watching this movie in 2021, to know that 2029 is 8 years from now, it was kind of like, it made me chuckle like, we do have a lot of advanced technology. I'm like, but I don't know if it's going to take over the world just yet. But I was like, listen, Alexa, okay.
Well, that's because they destroy Skynet, so you good.
I'm good now. I'm good now. Duh. And so so watching it from that perspective was kind of like, wow, this is crazy. And I appreciate people's imaginations.
Yes.
Also, those parts of Arnold Schwarzenegger that are, the iconic parts where it's like, hasta la vista, baby, and I'll be back. It was so funny to me watching how these things came about. Because I was like, who would have thought him looking around the police station and then saying, I'll be back, would become this thing that everyone is like, I'll be back. And then to even think of hasta la vista, baby, like, he didn't say that. John taught him hasta la vista, baby. And so it was just
he punctuated it, baby.
But he punctuated
it, baby.
So it was just this thing of like, wow, this is crazy to me. Like these things that have come,
how much it's permeated.
Yeah, it just so because if I was watching, I'm wondering how I would have received it back then. But right now, it kind of was just like, okay, like that really, those two things really became a thing within the movie. And I will tell you this as well. I really appreciated the diversity of the cast.
Yes.
I appreciated how it was just a world.
Can I speak on that for a second?
So good.
I just, you all know that's one of my favorite things about a great movie is that Miles Dyson, for example, and I forget the captain in the first one, I forget his name, but these were key characters and they didn't have to have a speech about how it was being a Black man going through,
Yes.
Like I had to fight for everything I got. Like we didn't have to have that. It's just, no, this guy's a genius. He just happens to be Black. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even addressed. You know what I'm saying? And I love the fact, his wife was a Black wife with natural hair. You know what I mean? Like it was just,
listen,
and nobody had
in 91, like,
and nobody had to address it.
Come on.
It was just, and that is what normalizes things. Even when, I'm telling you, when I was watching this movie as a kid, when I was watching Terminator 2 as a kid, it never even occurred to me that Sarah Connor was a female action star. Like it was just, she was just a badass action star. Like I never even, and to me, that's what we should be moving towards. It's like, she's just, and they didn't stop her from female things or whatever. They didn't take away from that either. Because she even had the little speech in the second one where she said, you don't know what it is to create, to have a life growing in you. But it was just that point she made right there was so heavy. You didn't have to, you didn't have to hit it over and over again. And those themes to me made it, all the little themes. When they had the, I even took this quote down that the Terminator said when he was like, it's in your nature to destroy yourselves. Right. Like so like all these little messages hit so heavy, and they didn't have to hit any of them heavy.
They did not.
And that's what made them so impactful. So I just
that line that she said, if a machine can learn to love people, then maybe there's hope for us.
Maybe there's hope. It gave her hope.
Well, let me see. I wrote it down.
Can learn to value life, maybe we can.
That's it.
I think that's
a machine and Terminator learn to value life. Yep. Maybe we can too. Yep.
And I have to get the names of these actors right. So the Black police chief in the first one was Paul Winfield.
Yes, and he's been in so much stuff.
So much stuff. And then then it was Joe Morton, who was the scientist and the technology engineer or whatever in the second one. And then his wife was S. Epatha Murkison. We all love her.
Yes.
She's in everything.
She's in everything.
So good. But bro, I just love your point that they were just characters. They didn't have to.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody.
Even the extras. There was a reasonable number of like Black people in the extras. That's all.
And diversity. And diversity, just in general.
Just general diversity.
Just
show the world the way it is. You don't even have to make it better. Just show it the way it friggin' is. Please.
Just show it the way it is.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like they casted Miles' character just based off of someone who did well. He did well during his audition, and it was like, this is Miles Dyson.
Yeah,
like,
and you know what?
There's no way around it. Like,
and honestly, even if, and I believe that, but even if he was saying I wanted
a black person,
I think they did it on purpose. I think they did it on purpose, and I think it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that either way, the way it was executed was
they did it seamless.
To me
flawless.
So
flawless without flaw. Perfect.
So those, because there were even, because even in Terminator 2, when she went and met the I think he was Mexican, the guy who was speaking Spanish, because she was like, I think she was in Mexico. I'm just saying these people were just in the world, and those were just phenomenal about that, man. That was great. I'm gonna tell you another thing I loved about these movies.
What, bro? Can we on the casting real fast before you switch topics? Sarah Connor, if you think about her, like that particular actress, she is not Linda Hamilton. Listen, she's an attractive woman, but she certainly is not. She didn't have the kind of traditional beauty that we see nowadays. Nowadays, you can't be a superhero woman unless you have a very, certain kind of look. If you can't also be a supermodel in your spare time.
She was regular pretty. She was regular cute.
Just a regular pretty cute
she was regular
girl.
Cute.
That was it. And that's
she was
what
going
made
through
it so
regular.
good.
She was going through regular woman stuff. She had a roommate. She was
a guy date canceled.
On her. Just regular.
And honey, she said, "Well, she
but she goes to the movies.
She went got changed and whatnot." I said, "I know that's right."
Yeah,
and they had to do and that's again. That was so brilliantly done, because part of what you have to walk away from in these movies, and what you do walk away from is you walk away thinking it could be any of us. It could be any of us. Anyone could find themselves in the situation that the decision that they make, the child that they birth, where their decision to take a step at work or not take a step, an innovation that they're offering the world could eventually and ultimately be used for evil. Everything we do could have huge and does have huge implications. And so they had to have a normal woman, just a typical woman. And I just think that was brilliant.
And since you're talking about her, can we talk about her just in general? Because what I want to say is that you got to think about when, I'm sure that there was probably a concept for Terminator 2 or whatever, but I'm sure that I don't think that there was a conversation with Linda Hamilton like, look, 7 years later, we're going to make a movie and you're going to have to change your whole, like that wasn't. So I just respect her so much.
Yes.
Because I know when they came to her with the concept for the second, it was like, look, you are going to have to change your whole everything. Like you're and not just your attitude. I'm saying you're going to have to go hit the gym. You're going to have to look like somebody who is preparing for the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have the mentality of somebody who's preparing for the apocalypse. And when you see how she not only accomplished that, but she didn't change the character because she was still Sarah Connor. Yes. You saw Sarah Connor fighting, when she was about to murder Miles Dyson, you saw Sarah come back for a second. Like, she is, without a doubt, one of the hardest people who've ever existed. But it's just, she's still her. She's still her. How can I become what I'm fighting against? And you saw that battle just happening in her face. And she was hard during, before, and after that. But in the first movie, she wasn't even looking like a hard person who was trying to be a soft person. She was just a soft person.
That's it.
And it was just one of those things where she was thrust.
And she wasn't even overly soft. She was just a normal level.
She was just normal.
Just a normal level of kindness and compassion.
Just a normal, nice person. And who was thrust into a circumstance and stood up. And they even gave a little bit of the, a little taste of it. Like when she was pulling Reese, and I love that part. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie, when they're in the first movie, when they're fighting the Terminator and nearing the end, Reese gets injured and he's falling down, and now he's the soldier, he's the vet, he's the one who's been telling her what to do. But you can see her mindset starting to switch.
Yep.
Get up, soldier, get on your feet. I was like, oh my God. And look, that was another thing that these movies did so well. There was not one setup that didn't have a payoff. There was no fat in this movie. There was no nothing. Everything had a reason. Everything was revisited later on, and everything. So like I was looking at the at Terminator. When I was rewatching Terminator 2, even when she was trying to load the shotgun and she dropped one shotgun shell, and like that was But at the end, when she's fighting the T-1000 and she's trying to get it into the steel, she's bow, bow, and she almost got him to the steel, and she's short. What? One shotgun shell. And then the Terminator came over. He had the presence of thought. He had one grenade left and had dropped it to the back of the truck, and they showed it drop. And what happened at the end? That one grenade was the grenade. He came over and killed the T-1000 with. I mean, that's just masterful. That is just masterful storytelling, man. In both. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm Aubrey. I'm sorry.
No, bro.
Listen,
so good.
I just sit and I laugh. I chuckle to myself the whole time. I said this. When we look at action movies and sci-fi movies, this becomes the Aubrey Perspective podcast.
I love it. I love it because I love it because you know what it is. What it is, what I see when Aubrey is so passionately reacting to these movies, y'all, you have to think back to when you were a child and you had an experience at the movies that blew your mind. That's what Aubrey is talking about, these movies from our childhood. To me, it's like he's giving us that experience, and I appreciate it, bro. I do, because even now it's not often where you get a chance to truly have your mind blown, and it's because we're taking in so much now. But anyway, when you have those moments where you're like, mind blown, I'm swept away, I had an opportunity to fully be in a state of wonder and awe, like true wonder and awe, that impacts you. And so that's what I see coming through when Aubrey's like,
and I promise you, like in my head, when I'm talking, I promise you, I'm like, shut up, Aubrey. Like but I'm just telling y'all that. Like,
I hope you never do.
Huh?
I don't want you to.
No, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, in 1984, right, I wasn't able to go see Terminator in the movies, right? Because, I'm a little kid. But Terminator was a phenomenon. And like back then, that is in the golden age of action movies, right? That's when it was just fun to have a movie that was just like, there's some dude with a gun and he is just getting it on. And that's just all the movie was about. We ain't worried about high level concepts. And, that was the Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Will. I mean, all of these, Jean-Claude Van Damme, this is when movies were just, it was just fun. And what I'm saying is I was introduced to Terminator like everybody else on VHS and all that kind of stuff. Or, they would show it on TV, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's how I was introduced to it. And it was already a phenomenon and nobody was really expecting a Terminator 2, but guess what?
And
Terminator 2 is coming.
It was
and
so
the
good
build up and think about stuff now, like you got video clips and all this kind of stuff that leads up to the movie. We didn't have none of that. All you got is a trailer right before the movie's about to come out.
Right.
And when we just imagine walking into the theater, all the Terminator stuff is up on the walls and you don't know what to expect. Lori took me to see it because, mom and dad wasn't into that. And we're going into this theater. We don't know, we're excited beyond imagine. But if you can imagine being in a theater filled with people and every moment you saw in Terminator 2 that was supposed to land, landed. Every single last moment. When and they did the amazing job of building the tension, but all of the comedic parts were just perfect.
They really were.
He just burned a dude on a stove in Terminator 2. He just beat up a whole room in this bar, took the shotgun off the dude. This is Terminator. You don't know what's going to happen. He rolls up on him, just takes the glasses. And then it's something, oh my God, I can remember it like yesterday. Everybody was going crazy.
You know what Aubrey reminds me of right now is a sports newscaster.
I
just want to say, give me two more. Just two more. The one. Look, when I'm gonna tell you right now, when they were fighting that T-1000, and let me tell you something. When that T-1000 froze, the movie was long enough that you didn't feel the length at all, but the movie was long enough that could have been the climax when he got frozen by the liquid nitrogen. That could have been the climax. So when he pulled up that gun, and he was like, "Hasta la vista, baby." Boom! I'm gonna just let you know, I will never forget the theater right then. I will. It was everybody was standing up. It was just pandemonium. And then after that, we're thinking it's over, and then the little liquid, we're like
coming back together yet again.
Coming back again. And so, they ended up fighting him. We talked about him coming with the last grenade shell. But imagine all that tension, building. He comes with the grenade shell, boom, blows him up. And then it's like we're emotionally exhausted. And then as soon as he walk in, I need a vacation. Just, man, it was just perfect. I'm sorry.
It was. And sis, I can't wait for COVID to be over so we can watch some of these movies actually together, But sis, I want to hear your reaction to like Arnold Schwarzenegger in these movies. I was just thinking about you, sis, and how you were probably reacting to Arnold Schwarzenegger, the character.
Because she told me that he did a lot better job. I mean, she said he did a bad job, but she was like, basically stepped his game up in a second.
In the first one, he didn't have any lines.
He didn't.
And I was kind of checking. My reaction was, oh, he didn't know English for real because he's from Austria. Is that what? I was like, he didn't know how to speak it. That's okay. And so I was like, he was just supposed to be cute. And so I think about how his character in the first movie, his presence was just, this is my mission. That is what I'm doing. And then there's nothing else about it. And so even that, because that was a quote that was in the movie that might have been in the second one where what was the quote? Where the Terminator was just basically saying like this is my mission, and like that's what I'm supposed to do. And so of course, I'm always looking for the deeper, like, oh my God. And so just watching.
Yeah, but Jenia does it with the symbols. Brittany does it in the movie.
Yes.
That's
just
where they
thinking about how you do not need to let anything deter you from the purpose that you believe that you have. Brittany, it does not matter what is getting in the way. If it okay, I need your clothes because I'm butt naked, just coming from the future. Okay, well, I'm about to kill you. We're all at the
there's the mission.
There's the mission. Oh, you want them $5 from me to pay to get into this club to kill Sarah Connor? Boop, I'm gonna mush you in the face and knock you on the ground. Like, it does not
you need a
matter.
Quarter? You need a quarter out of this machine, out of this phone?
Boom. You can have all the quarters. Like, there's nothing that was stopping him, the Terminator, in both movies from fulfilling his mission.
That's right.
Brittany, I don't
even the bad Terminator.
I don't even think that's going too deep. I think that because that is a lesson. That's a life lesson you talk about right there. Lesson. That's a life lesson, because if you notice, even Sarah Connor talks about that. She's like, I'm looking at this in this insane world. This machine would never stop. He will never do nothing wrong. He will protect him, and he, if need be, will die to do that.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's how you accomplish stuff.
Yep.
In life.
And you know what, to speak to even to that, because you all were talking about just the loop-de-loop type of thing that was happening. I think about John, how that was hard, probably sending his father. But then when you're being taught this mindset that this is for a purpose, this is for a reason.
Everything's on the table.
Everything is happening. So I have to send you back because I have to be born, because this has to, I have to help save what.
Yes.
And so just that mindset that you have to be like that. The other part of it,
you training right now. You training. I feel like I'm at a seminar.
And when they showed John Connor of the future, again, he was not a supermodel. He was just a good-looking regular guy. He was just a regular guy. Any regular guy that had been through something, but had been determined.
And I think about John Connor as a little boy. He was like talking to his mom, and this is something that is key for women who have boys, which is, he was like, you're telling me I'm this great leader in the future. You have to listen to me. Like, let me lead. And it was like, okay, she didn't press that CPU.
Sis, I am so happy you brought up that mother-son dynamic, because if you think about the task that Sarah accepted, okay, because listen, there was so much of this that was still in her hands. She could have said, all right, well, I know the world's about to end in X number of years. I'm just going to hang out. I'm not going to have a son. She could have decided not to have that child.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much that when she decided to have the child, and when she made the commitment to raise him to be the man that would be able to lead the resistance and save humanity, she had to do a couple things. She couldn't just create a warrior, because we've seen that. That's the bad guy in every movie, right? The bad guy is the guy who, the thing that he is, that he's so determined about is the fight, right? If she had raised that guy, he wouldn't have been able to lead the resistance. She had to raise a person that had all the skills of that guy, but had an appreciation for life and appreciated humanity. And we got a chance to see, and the way that the movie showed us this was, we had this little boy, okay, had all these tactics, these warlike tactics, and had at his disposal a Terminator, okay? A Terminator. There was a point where he was just like, you can't go around killing people. Why do you keep killing everyone? And he said, I'm a Terminator.
Of course.
You
I'm a
know,
Terminator.
like, of course I'm
What are
killing
you-
everyone. I'm a
what are we
Terminator. I
saying?
terminate. And he said, but listen, my father, my future me programmed you so that you would come back here and listen to me. And I am telling you not to kill people. He had a Terminator at his disposal when his life was at risk. And he instructed the Terminator to value life. And so that was our chance to see Sarah had accomplished the goal. She had built this child to understand what the fight was really about.
And the Terminator just went around to shoot people in the leg after that.
Well, look,
they don't maim
listen,
they don't kill them.
Listen, all them people are still alive. And I also
alive though.
I also love how they showed that was another great comedic moment. He'll live. That was a good one. But when that was another thing showing the character of John and how he had to grow up quickly.
That's right.
And I like how they actually showed it, because when he first realized that he was able to control this Terminator, he acted the way a 10-year-old boy would act with the Terminator.
Yes.
Those dudes came over, he was a jerk. He had them grip him up. But you saw him grow up more in the span of 30 seconds. He instantly realized, oh, I took this too far. I got to rein this back in. Like, what are we doing here? I have to use
my power for good. I have to.
And it wasn't rushed, but it was still instant. And that was another payoff. They showed him using the skill to steal money out the ATM, which was the same skill he used to open up and get to the key so that they could pull the chip and the arm out the wall.
That's right.
Set up, payoff. That just makes you so happy when you see it. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you, there was one moment in Terminator 2 where I was like, did I miss the setup? Because hopefully I did. And it was when the Terminator was, the good Terminator was in the lava and he did the thumbs up. Was there a setup for that? Please say yes. Because if not, I'm like, why did he do that thumbs up? Did I just miss the setup?
Well, to me, there wasn't a thumbs up setup. But to me, I'm gonna tell you why I thought.
I mean, in a perfect movie, bro, every single setup had a payoff.
Can I tell you what I thought the setup was?
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't think the point of the thumb was that he showed him a thumb. I thought the point of the thumb was showing how much he had become a human. How much and I thought the setup was when they were playing, when he was teaching them everything. When you do this, say this. When you do this, like just when he said, say hasta la vista, baby, when they were doing a high five, he was showing him how to be a human. And for me, the payoff was he became so much of a human, he could now do things just as a human would. So like if it was a human, if it was a human in that same circumstance, he would have just gave the thumbs up because that's what we would do in that circumstance.
So for me,
that's how I interpret it. Like,
bro, thank you. Bro, you resolved for me the only flaw that I had with the movie, which was like, where did that come from? But bro, you helped me now to understand that was us just seeing that he had really taken on so many of those human qualities.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for that, bro.
And there was so much, and it also made me feel like how much more conversation did they have in all of these hours that they were driving around and stuff like that, because they showed the end result. And I'm gonna just tell y'all, man, even as a little boy who, not a little boy, but like a teenager, 13 years old, wanting to be tough and all that kind of stuff as little boys do, especially when you're in a movie like Terminator. Yo, when that Terminator was like, I now know why humans cry, but it is something I can never do.
Listen.
Yo, everybody in the theater was like,
so good, y'all. so good.
It was so good.
It's so good.
Now,
and it's so go ahead, sis.
I have something to say that wasn't so good. Oh, but so finish. So finish what you was gonna say, sis.
No, you go ahead, sis.
What I was gonna say, how them graphics got better in Terminator 2. I was kind of
I even like that though, man.
They did.
Please don't hate on that really robotic.
I was cracking up. I said, you can tell when it turns to the robot and when it goes back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I still loved it. I was like,
but look, the crazy thing about it is that's the part that we love now. Like that's like when we, because the people who grew up with this movie, we love those parts. We love when he was cutting his eye out in the first one. It just looks ridiculous. It's one of our favorite parts of the movie because I'm gonna tell you what. In 1991, looking at that liquid Terminator was like seeing something. Here.
It's still.
You know,
I
mean,
I was like,
when he threw him against the wall back, and it just morphed to him being facing forward again. Yo.
And you all, you know what? So you all know I've been studying, like comedy writing. And one of the things that you're always asking yourself when you're building a reality, I'm learning in these writing classes, is if this is true, what else is true? Like once you create a truth in a scene, you have to just commit to that as something that is so fundamental in that reality. You know, it's like, what else is true? And so when I thought about the way that bad Terminator, the morphing metal Terminator was conceptualized, and the way that they let us see, like just somebody sat back and said, if something was a melting metal
alloy
that could take on every single thing it touched with a certain set of reasonable limitations, what could we do with that character? And it was like, they did all of the things, even when it died, and as it was dying in the hot steel, it was taking on all of the forms it had taken on.
Like a computer breaking down.
Right. And I was like, oh my God. And then when it melted into the crumbs and then it came back, I was like, they have maximized this character.
Can I just piggyback on that point? How now movies get so complicated, you need a half hour of exposition just explain what's going on.
Yes.
Kyle Reese said, look, it's a combat chassis with it's very tough, very hard to kill. Those are the rules. All right, and guess what that Terminator was? Very tough, very hard to kill. Not impossible, but that's what happened. It didn't do something superhuman. When it was about to die, there wasn't another bunch of small Terminators that jumped out and tried to come after her. It stuck to the rules that they set up. And they were reasonable rules.
Yeah.
Nobody was overpowered. This next iteration of the Terminator, again, John asking the questions that the audience would ask. Well, why doesn't it just become a pack of cigarettes? Why does it just make a bomb and kill me? Doesn't work that way. It has to touch somebody, and it can only make things of its equal size.
Right.
Rule. It can't make things like guns or chemicals. They have moving parts. Rule. What can it do? Stabbing weapons and stuff like that. Bang, that's it. We don't need to talk about what this Terminator can do anymore. So now we can just get to the point of fighting. Man, just no fat on the movie, which allows you to not have to try to follow the plot. You could just enjoy.
And another part of how the movie was definitely making sure that
you're probably about to make our last point, sis, because we got to wrap.
Okay. The part that I was thinking of just about them continuing to just talk about human life and how important it is, thinking about the things that Sarah Connor was going through as she was in that state hospital for years. Someone electrocuting you because you won't acquiesce, someone beating you with a stick. That man, how many nights was he licking her? How many nights? What else did he do? And so
and she never shook.
Never shook. She never shook. And so I was just thinking about how those pulling those things out for us to really see, although these people may have some mental instability, that they're, you know, something may be going on or is going on, they're still human. So why are we not treating them like they are human? And so I think that that was another point of them just bringing out how we treat human life, and just how it is, we don't value it the way we should.
Yeah, and that there's
When
all
people are in
kind of
these
bad
situations.
guys. There's so many.
And it was,
The nature of bad guy, it morphs depending on the situation you're in.
Yes, because that doctor from the first movie to the second movie was getting on my nerves. Because he was so sarcastic. It's like you're not even listening.
But also,
the other thing that.
And bro, we got to wrap. You got to make the last point.
We got to wrap. But what I'm just saying is that point that Brittany was talking about, like how they were treating Sarah Connor and how committed she was. But here's the thing. There was a parallel moment between John and Sarah, because both John and Sarah were skeptical prior to the stuff hitting the fan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, that was both a time where you could see in both movies where they had to make that mental switch to, all right, well,
okay, well,
now
clearly,
I got to see.
I understand what's happening.
I got to get it. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about I literally could talk about these movies for hours. And like me and my friends still, when I was about to watch Terminator 2, I was excited like I never saw before. I get more excited every time I see it. And I'm gonna tell you, I remember Terminator 2 was the last VHS I tried to watch, because if you remember when Terminator 3 came out, Blockbuster was still a thing. And like, y'all remember how Blockbuster, when the next movie was coming out, they used to pull out the previous movie, and they would put them all out. And back then, it was VHS and DVD, and all the DVDs would get rented out first. And then, the VHS would still be there. I was like, I got a nice VCR. I haven't watched one in a while, but let me get this VHS because I want to see this before I go see Terminator 3. I put in that VHS. I watched it for 3 seconds. I was like, nope, click, ejected that joint right out. So I'm saying even though Terminator 3 was not my favorite of the franchise, it still marks a moment in transition for me from the analog to the digital stage, because it was just like I can't. So anyway, I could talk about all of this stuff for hours and hours. Just trust me, I know I talked all this podcast. I tried my best.
I love it. I love it with all my heart. I love it, and it's not mysterious for anyone who's listened to even 1 minute of this podcast. But we have to ask, bro, do Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 get your
my
sunglasses?
I wish I had more sunglasses to get. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I also
and I don't even like ranking them individually because I'm gonna tell you, each movie makes the other one better.
I agree, bro. And we've talked in other podcasts about what makes a good sequel. Okay.
And Brittany was talking about how it makes it better, but it also can stand alone.
Yes. It meets all our criteria for good sequel. It meets all of our criteria for classics, y'all. I definitely would give both of these movies individually sunglasses, and together they get all the sunglasses.
Yes.
I did not expect to enjoy these movies at the level that I did. I actually, one of these days, I'm going to rank my favorite movies. And I don't know, y'all, these Terminators got to be in there. I really enjoyed these movies.
As far as sequels, Terminator 2 is my favorite sequel of all time.
You know what? One day we'll do a Wright Perspective where we do some rankings or something. That'll be fun. Sis, what say you?
I definitely get my sunglasses, and it is because both of them can stand alone and be watched together, and they're great, and they give you great feelings. And so I appreciate that. I feel like it's something where if I'm showing it to my kids in the future, they're still going to be like, oh my gosh, so I appreciate that.
And I want to say the sunglasses are probably from a Black-owned store, because James Cameron clearly understands the importance of diversity.
Right.
And I just have to shout that out one more time. Y'all,
What
our
we
next,
watching next?
this movie, so Terminator 1 and 2 are a classic from
Yes.
the right
Right
perspective. It has to be said. And Brittany has already picked
Brittany, I
our
like that
next
finger
movie,
thing.
which is the right
That's what
perspective.
Janaya does that.
The next movie, Brittany already picked it, is Brown Sugar, which again, it's the opposite of Terminator, clearly.
Is it though?
Oh,
We done got her started.
Y'all tune in.
Life is jazz. Life is jazz.
Tune in on April 17th to hear our review and discussion of Brown Sugar. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.